U.S. President Donald Trump hosts leaders of Central Asian nations at the White House, looking to woo the region's deep reserves of vital rare earth metals away from China's grasp. So Central Asia is not just linking up with the White House, also in negotiations with China and Russia. Well, let's find out how that could play out. We're joined by Cedomir Nestorovic, Professor of Geopolitics at ESSEC Business School, Asia Pacific. Professor, welcome to the show. Now, a lot's been happening over just the past 24 hours. Among them, Kazakhstan, part of that five, joined the Abraham Accords, even acknowledging the beginning of this so-called new era with the U.S., while yet maintaining close ties with China and Russia traditionally. Look, how are they able to walk this fine line between all these parties while still trying to protect their own interests?
Exactly. Thank you for inviting me. So there's five countries, well-known countries. They have been under the influence of Soviet Union first and Russia after the dismemberment of Soviet Union. But suddenly they are at the center of many attentions coming from the three big players, that is Russia, China, and the United States. And the question, as you have mentioned, can they resist this kind of warm embrace, which is coming from these three big players, and how can they survive such a warm embrace?
So what will they need to do to keep everyone happy while still protect their own interests at home?
So they are located geographically in between of Russia and China. So the United States is far away. So being far away, it means that the United States will not have as an important, let's say, presence in Central Asia as the other two players have. However, the five countries represent a big interest for the United States, for the natural resources first, for the location second, because it is close to Afghanistan, and also concerning the international presence and the Abraham Accords. All the five countries, they already have diplomatic relationship with Israel, which is quite rare within the Muslim world. But Kazakhstan has agreed to join the accords, so it is a step forward concerning the relationship with Israel, and probably there would be a pressure on the other countries to join the accords too.
Now, the U.S. is engaging the five together collectively, okay? So, rather than individually one-on-one, I'm wondering what the significance of that is to the balance of power in the region.
It is also a measure to show the other players, that is China and Russia, that the United States has a capacity in order to engage them collectively and to put pressure on all of them at once. And this is also a strategy coming from Donald Trump, because he wants everything at once, everywhere. So in that case, he is also showing that the group is of interest to him, and that the group can have an interest also in order to be engaged with the United States, rather than going individually, because in that case you're wasting time, or maybe they are influencing each other. He is bringing all of them together and probably putting some kind of pressure on all of them at once.
Okay, so let's say Washington does indeed get more involved in Central Asia as it would like. How do you feel Moscow and Beijing might react to that?
So the reaction will not be I would say, a pleasant one, because China is the biggest trading partner. So, of course, they don't like that the United States is coming there. And with three of the countries, Russia has a collective security treaty. This is like NATO that we have in Central Asia. So from the security reasons, Russia won't be happy to do so. But the amount of trade with Russia and China is much, much bigger than the amount of trade with the United States. So I don't think that from the economic point of view, it will be a big blow. It will be a big challenge concerning Russia and China. They will continue to have sound relationship with Central Asian countries. So the incursion of the United States will not change very much.
Okay, so let's look at how things might shape up on the ground? Because it's being framed as, somewhat the U.S. response to perhaps China's Belt and Road Initiative. How likely is it to perhaps gain traction in that part of the world? And how fast can the U.S. build up mining or supply chain projects in Central Asia should it get off the ground?
You're right. Now, the problem is that no one can replace Belt and Road Initiative. It is a multi-trillion project, and Central Asia is right in the middle of all the supply chains and all of the transportation between China and the rest of the world. So I don't see how the United States can replace this. On the other side, the United States can come up with interesting initiatives in order to sell, for instance, some equipment, and they have announced that they are selling some aircraft, that they are selling some locomotives for the railroad systems, and that they're also buying, maybe in the future, they will buy uranium, which is coming from Kazakhstan. Kazakhstan has more than 40% of world production of uranium. And as we have seen, the nuclear race may be back on the scene again. So in that case, they will need more uranium, and Kazakhstan is the first provider of that.
All right, all very fascinating. We'll have to wait and see how it plays out. Meanwhile, we do thank you, Cedomir Nestorovic, Professor of Geopolitics at ESSEC Business School, Asia Pacific, for joining us from Singapore.